Yes, hello. Today, look, we've got Legends All-Star. Before we even begin, you guys want to know, is it worth it? Now, when I speak about a thing of anything worth it, I'm always speaking about A, free to play, and B, the ladder. So I'm not talking about tournaments. That's outside of the ladder. So I'm talking about best of one, ladder grinding, free to play. So when I'm discussing these banners, I'm discussing it in that format, and that's always the format I do it. Because I know there's a lot of new people that always see these videos, and I want you to be aware of that this is how I discuss it. So, is this banner worth it for free-to-play competitive ladder players? No. It's just straight up not. If you are playing androids, it's not worth it. If you're just trying to get stars for Jiren and Dispo, and if you're playing Rival Universe, you can argue it's worth it, but I would also argue that it's better just to save for Anniversary and grind them there. Because most likely they will make a reappearance again as featured characters within that banner. Or even just as droppable units in that banner. So it's just overall not a good idea. In fact, actually, most of the time I argue that it's just not a good idea to summon on Legends All-Star banners in the first place, unless it becomes a very relevant character for your team. A good example of that was Dragon Ball Saga. If you are a Dragon Ball Saga player and you were pulling on the launch and Yamcha at that time, that made sense. And if you were trying to pull them last time you didn't get them, rejoice, because this banner's for you. Yamcha and launch are back, so you will be able to try to pull them. Now, let's talk about 18 and 17, because they're interesting units, and they're really good units. But I'll also explain why they're just not worth it. Let's go in and let's take a look at them. So we got Android 17, and he's a yellow, and he's a melee type. And if you are wondering, but why? He's got a very good kit, and yes, he does have a very good kit. Why is he not worth it? There's another yellow unit that is an android, and also a female warrior, that is busted beyond belief. And he would just not replace her. And if you guessed that was Android 18 Zenkai 7, yeah, you're right. That's exactly it. Ding, ding, ding. And that's why this character automatically just won't see as much competitive play as you might expect him at first. Now, if you, let's take a look at his kit, just to explain it very quickly. So, right off the bat at 3 stars, his stats are okay for a 3-star unit. His tags are also okay. I mean, I expected it to be androids. The fact that he's part of Universal Survival Saga as an episode is awesome. It does give him some, you can play around with him a little. Let's take a look at the arts cards real quick. If you've been keeping up with any other Legends content, you've been looking around, you'd probably already hear about the kit, but let me just explain it in detail with other units. So he's got stuff like Excel Driver, which the substitution count up against opponents is nice, but because it's a blue card, it reverts things back to neutral. That's not exactly super relevant in many cases, in fact, actually. And then, but it's not a bad thing. It's very nice. If your opponent doesn't wait, then you could actually take advantage of that. But generally speaking, they do wait. So its relevancy is a little... It just feels like you could have just not slapped that skill on there and it would have been fine. Let's talk about Talk to the Hand. Destroys one enemy strike, blast, and special moves arts card. So that's all it does, outside of just inflicting downgrades and increasing substitution count. This is stackable, though. So this green card is very nice if you're trying to lock your opponent in. The problem with this is how much can you actually lock someone in for? And the best way to use this green card is right after a blue. But even then, that's not really helpful. So it's really hard to say, but let's say your opponent has no vanish gauge and you want to keep them in, not let them dodge, green card into a Rising Rush and hope that they don't have a blue card that is long range based. If you do that, then yes, this card is actually quite good and in fact can very much scummily steal some games that you normally wouldn't steal. So that's pretty cool. It's actually a pretty cool card. But the difference is, if you're already on the offensive as it is, and you got your opponent to vanish, you can probably take advantage of that with 18 and potentially nuke the opponent's team versus having to rely on a Rising Rush to do it. So I'm talking about a niche situation versus the usual, which is 18 just combo spams. And why am I constantly bringing that in? Because it matters. It's very relevant. Let's take a look at the main ability. So he draws a special move arts card. Cool, that's good. Restores health, that's awesome. Key by 50, that's awesome. Special move damage is increased. Awesome. He increases his own card draw speed by 1 level, which cannot be canceled. That's also awesome. In fact, that's really good. And in tournament play, this could be pretty relevant, especially if you're Zenkai boosting. Problem is, he will definitely come back. And when he comes back, you can pull him then, right? So if you absolutely need him, because let's say you don't have Android 18 yellow, I mean, I still don't really recommend it. I just don't recommend this banner if you're like super free to play and you have a already solid setup. You're just wasting your crystals at that point. Let's take a look. So he buffs Universal Survival Saga. That's awesome. And androids. So if we're talking about Universal Survival Saga and you want to make a strike-based attack unit, then I definitely suggest this unit. Just because, you know, a lot of the units on Survival Saga tend to be strike-focused. And right now, I think their only good yellow unit at the time of this recording is Champa. I could be mistaken. I don't main them, so I don't always remember. But Champa is usually the strongest bet. Also, one thing to mention. Fun fact, actually. So, my partner actually pointed it out to me, so I had to cut and stuff like that, but I do appreciate that, is take a look at the end time. It is 6/15/2021. Do you know what that means? That means that this banner will still be out during anniversary. So if, for some reason, you look at this banner and you say, I'm interested, but I'm not sure, then what I would strongly suggest, just very strongly suggest, is wait till anniversary drops, see what banner is worth it more to you, the anniversary banners or this banner. And if you say none of my teams are represented effectively in anniversary, then go for it. Pull on this banner. So that's actually pretty cool. So thank you, Emily, for pointing that out. I didn't even realize that. But yeah, 06 is June, by the way. And the 15th of June, anniversary has already dropped by then. Anniversary usually drops around the 4th, guys. So you'll have 11 days after anniversary drops to decide, and you'll know already the units beforehand. So yeah, that's a quick thing for you guys to know. So yeah, fun fact. You don't have to choose right away, and you don't have to summon right now. So let's take a look at like I said, at this point, from what I'm seeing, he is just a really, really good unit for Universal Survival Saga if you want to make it more strike-focused. So if you are playing Universal Survival Saga, this is definitely a great unit for you, and you could pull or should pull. But again, maybe wait for anniversary just to see before you make that decision. I know it's a long time to wait, but usually patience is key with this game, especially as free-to-play. All right, let's take a look now at his unique abilities. So at the start of battle, he just cancels 30% of the damage he would always take. That's awesome. He also gets 90% extra damage when he enters the battlefield. This is cancelable, though. So if your opponent cancels this, you lose 90% of your damage. He shortens the ally substitution count by 1, which he activates 5 times. Solid. Seals all enemies' main abilities for 10 timer counts, which activates twice. And all of it happens the moment he enters the battlefield. That's pretty good. I question how relevant the shortens ally substitution count by 1 is in most case scenarios. In some cases, I'm sure it could bail you out when you least expect it. But in most case scenarios, it just won't be a very relevant skill to have. However, the first and the third thing, especially the third one, is really good. So if you time that well enough, your opponent could be set back for a bit. So that's awesome. And then he also inflicts enemy with downgrade of plus 15 to special arts cost for 10 timer counts every single time when faced with an enemy. So this is more so when he switches in, and when the opponent switches out and switches characters, he will again debuff them there. So that could also be very nice. He's a very tempo-based character and can really hurt the card quality of your opponent. So that's pretty cool. And then we got the unlimited energy. So he again reduces his damage by 20% when he cover changes. That's pretty good. He also has a strike arts block. So just kind of like with Jiren, just like Jiren, you can now have an extra blocker. That's pretty cool. And then when he switches to standby, he increases E-Key to the opponent, to the team. He restores health by 10%. Solid. And then he also can increase his overall damage when one of your teammates is dead. So this basically means that he's got a decent crisis kit. Solid. So overall, he's a solid unit. His only problem is that he's not very necessary in an Androids team. And then on a Rivals Universe team, the question is whether to pull now or maybe once Anniversary drops to compare the two. So take my word for it. I would normally wait. That's what I would say. Now let's take a look at Android 18. This is my bae. This is the one I love her. I know that she looks fantastic. Like the art is just it's amazing. Okay, but objectively speaking, let's take a look. So her stats are on the lower side than 17's, but I believe her defense is just a tad bit higher and a little bit more balanced. Overall, I don't think she's a bad unit regardless. Let's take a look real quick. So what's nice about her is that she does affect her blue card, which is awesome. So her win condition really is to make sure her blue card can be, as we call it, the finishing blow. That's pretty cool. So let's take a look at what it does. It deals massive impact damage. It has blast armor when charges forward, increases its own damage, and also nullifies enemies restores health from 0 effects for 3 timer counts, so it will just nullify the revival. That's awesome. It's a good setup move. It's a good combo with the strikes. I like that there is some win condition to this. It's very easy to see. And then finally, it is I number 18. We got 20% to damage inflicted for 20 timer counts and destroy all your own cards and randomly draw 4 new ones. This is similar to Goku Black, except you do not get back your key. So it's actually more similar to Demon King Piccolo, the yellow one. Regardless, this is actually really good and could be great for when you're fishing for cards or for a new hand. It's also great if this is the last card before your Rising Rush and you're about to click Rising Rush anyways, because if you chain that, now your opponent has no idea what card you're picking. So the randomization completely throws the opponent out of a loop, and they have to just, at this point, guess what you're going to pick versus kind of predicting. So this is also great for the Rising Rush, but even if not, you could maybe fish for a blue card. You might fish for another green. There's a lot of things you can do with this. So the fact of the matter is, yes, is this card a little bricky in your hand? Yes. But can it be used effectively? Absolutely. It's just not as good in a losing situation. Let's take a look at the ability and her abilities and see from there. So it draws a special arts card next, shortens ally substitution count by 5. That's awesome and synergizes pretty well with the yellow. But you could also just argue it synergizes very well with yellow 18. So actually, you could argue that this character, in a sense, synergizes extremely well with androids and yellow 18 and could be the new blue unit for the team. And then restores own key by 50. Solid. It's super solid. I have nothing really much to say about that. It's a very simple skill and it works effectively. So yeah. Then she also can be played on Universal Survival Saga, but I argue that maybe she's not the correct unit for that, since Toppo is still a fantastic unit and is just really good at keeping up with solid defense. Although this could be a great counter pick if you're doing a mirror match, because in that case, she could take out Toppo. So you could argue it either way. Just keep that in mind. But yeah, no, overall, she will be buffing androids and Universal Survival Saga, so you could argue that you could try to pull for her. But again, wait till Anniversary if you have the patience to do so and decide from there. Let's take a look at her skills. So she also is a girl killer. She increases her damage against girl units. So once again, this is really good because, I mean, in a mirror match, you kind of want to bring her in. And that also argues maybe you should bring in a green to counteract this. So I like it. There's a lot of like mix and match, and she might be more relevant than her yellow counterpart, which is 17. Now let's take a look at her other effects. So when she enters the battlefield, 70% to extra damage, and it cannot be canceled or stacked. This is important. The fact that this can't be canceled means that she will consistently be doing damage versus 17 that, yeah, will get a better buff and has better overall like a strike attack stat. But if canceled, he will underperform, just 100%. She also reduces damage by 25%, but only for 15 timer counts when it gets in. It decreases the strike arts cost, which is really good for setting up your win condition because you have more card quality control. And then also increases damage every single time she uses an arts card by 20%. So yeah, it's really, really good. And I have not much to say about this other than obviously she's going to be limited to 4 or 5 cards, generally in a combo, unless you are very lucky and really just going strike, 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 green card, strike, 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 and then potentially another strike. But it's how likely that is not very likely. So I would argue if you have a green card, maybe you can go more than 5. But if you Do not hold the green card at the time of the card cost activation, and when you get this skill going, just assume you're getting maybe max 5 attacks in, which is still good for a unit that does not have card draw speed. So that's something to keep note of. And then finally, Faith in Friends. So let's take a look. When she switches to standby, restores ki, increases damage. That's really good because that synergizes very well with how female warriors tend to work anyways, and as well androids, in fact. Then we have also applies to Universal Survival Saga or Android, 20% to damage when a special move, and then also 40% key recovery. This is a nice addition. It's not exactly very relevant all the time, but it's not bad. It's not bad. It's a solid skill, and it's something to keep note of while you're playing the game. Overall, like, I think that both of these units, at the very minimum, could be considered for tier 1. They definitely, you could argue for tier 1 for these two units. Would I say, is it worth it? I would say wait till anniversary before deciding. I hesitate to say summon on this, but the nice thing is, yes, 1 SP is guaranteed. Just keep that in mind that because this will be out even while anniversary is happening, maybe it's just better to hold off for now and see how it goes from here on out. Anyways, guys, that's the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't hesitate to tickle the like button if you haven't already, subscribe, and click the bell for more notificaciones so you never miss another one of my videos. Have yourselves a salty day, and I will see you in the next video.
Mana mana, dun dun dun, ba dun ba blah blah, Saitama!